think it is a good antidote against paternalism, against the idea that you can dictate your views on some of the issues. But to be quite honest, as we have been discussing between, I think, civilized people not biased by a logic of their own interest, for example, the whole idea of saying within some of the countries with which we are in a relationship, we need a civil society which is much more stronger, which is much more capable of being a counterpower against good or bad politicians. If this is a view which is shared by a lot of the people and the responsible people within, for example, the European Union, and if you know that half of the development aid comes from this part of the world, why not be more insistent about the choices to whom you give some of the aid?
Well, I think pursuing human rights is obviously a good thing. The problem is that very often the pursuit of human rights becomes a guise for pursuing some other national interests, and then you see all kinds of inconsistencies coming up. I'm not saying this of the Belgian government, but if you see, for example, the US and conditionality of aid, again for human rights reasons, has been tied, on the one hand, there's human rights conditionality, on the other hand, the same government is then providing arms. Or governments talk about putting human rights conditionality on the Congolese government, but not talk about how their companies or how their business institutions are operating inside Congo. So that's the problem. When that happens, then there isn't a kind of a human rights component of the condition. It has no credibility. And then it just becomes, you know, you're bashing us on the head because you are holding the check in your hand. And the problem with the check is that your check, in the global term, is getting smaller and smaller because many of these countries now get checks from China for nothing. So why would they want to come to Belgium with all these conditions attached to it? The violence against women that we see in those societies emerges out of a long period of impunity, of broken social and community structures, of no possibility for communities to provide protection and to protect each other. And there are others who come in to prey on that. And violence against women has been used in Eastern Congo, as in many other parts of the world, as a weapon of war. You want to displace communities, you want to have access to the territory because that's the territory where the mines happen to be, you go rape a few women, the whole village runs. You don't have to fire a bullet. So it's in that sort of a society, violence becomes so much a part of their life, so that even when they don't need to displace populations, they think that using women like that is part of that work. I have seen child soldiers in Congo. I've spoken to kids of about 12 and 13 who were used to rape. And the boy, he was obviously in a rehabilitation center, totally distraught as he began to realize what he had done. And the counselor said to me that he didn't think that this kid would live to be 20, because he would probably kill himself or something. Because how do you cope with violence of that nature? So it's not just that if you tell the Congolese government, we will give you so many million euros and you just stop raping women. It's not as simple as that. It will require sustained, long-term rebuilding of a society that's been totally traumatized. It will require the Congolese to build justice systems that will deal with this kind of action.
These are long-term challenges. And if immediatism leads to the question, you've tried this, do you have a solution already next week? Oh, well, stop then we'll never be able to solve the problem. Our solidarity with the people of Congo has to probably go for a generation. And I'm afraid to say that because I know that in politics that's almost a sin to say that the evolution will take time and that will have misfortunes and moments of slipping back, and we will have to continue to be able to push forward everything which is positive, but it is going to take a time. Secondly, the second element that Irene Khan mentioned, and I'm very sensitive to that, we need to have other people than only the government to represent the future of Congo. I have had the occasion to meet with some of the representatives of civil society. In some cases, they were very courageous and very smart and wise men and women. In some other cases, to be quite honest, the term civil society was used by men, often men, in fact being aspirant politicians.